Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live, and you know, we're about Thanksgiving. We may be a little bit after Thanksgiving when this show plays, but you know, people don't spend as much time down here this time of year. They should, because actually this is the best time of year. The mornings are cool, the evenings are cool.
Bugs are gone typically.
The mosquitoes hadn't been bad, and there's no traffic. The beaches are actually, in fact, I think next week we may go cruise the beach. But let's talk about people. They've got a home down here, and you know, all of a sudden the holidays start.
Yeah.
It starts with Thanksgiving, and really between Thanksgiving and Christmas, everyone's blowing and going, shopping, visiting families. But we always have to worry about freezes, and we used to not have to, but we do now, because you never know. What's some of the things that people need to take into consideration when they're going and they're really not sure when they're going to be back?
Yeah.
To make sure their house is taken care of.
So, you know, there's a lot of things that we can do to help, you know, kind of prevent any type of, you know, those problems. You know, but I think it really starts with, you know, what is your time frame going to look like?
Right.
I mean, are we coming down here once a month? Are we coming down here? We're not, or are we rolling out in November and we're not coming back until March?
Right.
I think you kind of really need to put your eyeballs on that as well. I'm never a huge fan of leaving a house empty for that long, just for the fact that it's just, you're asking for an issue. You know, so let's start with, like, if you're going to be back monthly, you know, and then we'll roll into extended periods of time. If you're going to be back monthly, I mean, you know, making sure that all your windows are locked up. You know, we get these storms blow in, the wind's coming from a different direction what it normally is.
Right.
Rain's coming from a different direction than it normally is. So things that may have been opened prior to, or you don't think, oh, you know, the beach, no, the wind's coming from the opposite direction this time of year. And so you really need to make sure that, you know, everything's kind of sealed up. You know, making sure your patio furniture, even something like that, because when these northerns blow in, we get 25, 35 mile an hour winds.
Yeah, we get some
wind. And it gets gusty and it gets quick down here. It's on you before you know it. So making sure your patio furniture is kind of tied up, tied down, kind of put away. You know, if you're down here monthly, you know, you're going to keep an eye on things like, you know, freezes or different things like that. But like you said, once mid-November kicks in, you start getting into Thanksgiving, you start getting into, you know, Christmas time, you start getting into New Year's. You know, there's a lot of things that kind of happen very quickly right there that, you know, just kind of consume our time. And it be one of those things where you might not think about it down here on a daily basis. So, you know, having something like somebody come by and check on your home, whether it be a neighbor, whether it be you just coming down here and doing it from time to time, if you're not going to come down and stay for any period of time. Whenever we get to longer periods of time, if you're going to be out, you know, for an extended period of time, one of the best things to do is shut your water off to the house, right?
What about water heaters?
Water heaters.
What's your thought on that? Because when we had a lake house, when we left, we always turned the water off, and we opened up one of the drains, turned the water heater off. But then when it came to wintertime, we had a hose hooked to it, and you turn the water off, open the drain so the house would drain. The house was up in Livingston. And then you'd open the water heater deal, and it would drain. What's your thought on water heaters?
So
because it used to be they were in the ceiling.
Yep.
But now a lot of them, I think, is it a law now they can't be in the ceiling?
No. There's still a lot of them in the
attic.
Yeah, there's
but what's your feelings on water heaters? Because on some of our freezes, that was a problem up there.
So water heaters become a problem when they're under pressure. Water freezes when it's under pressure, right? It's not going to freeze whenever there's air in the lines. So that's why everybody always says open up the fixtures and let water drip if water's moving, things like that. So whenever you do things like that, yeah, you can drain the water heater if you want to. Make sure you turn the breaker off so you don't burn up the elements. But you know, shutting the water off at the main to make sure you don't have an incoming water leak. You know, I've got a house that we're dealing with. It's in with insurance right now that last November
when we had
the water heater busted in a third-story home. And flooded all the way through. So I mean, there's always things that can happen. It goes back to our preventative maintenance plan, going through there, kind of checking to see if you're having any water in the pan. You know, pressure release valves are working correctly. Blah blah blah. But when it comes to preventive maintenance, I mean, when it comes to like prepping your home for long periods of time, you know, you can always drain that water heater.
Right.
If you're not going to be there for an extended period of time. Or you can take it down and open up the hot water valve so that it doesn't have a full tank.
Right.
Like, let's be honest, it's a 40 to 50 gallon
Right.
tank. It's going to have to freeze for a very, very long time for 40 or 50 gallons
Right.
of water to completely freeze solid.
But if you turn
But the lines can freeze.
Yeah, though you turn the water off, it drains out of the lines.
Yep.
You drain some of the water heater.
Yep.
It's not going to expand that much, typically, probably.
I'm going to
inside.
say, I'm not never say never, but it's
Never?
one of those things
Okay.
of one of those deals. You give it air, you give it room
Right.
to grow, right?
Right.
And leaving the valves open also helps. You know, one of the things that you know, we run into people down here that will leave their air up during the summer so that they don't have the electrical bill, but they will also they won't turn the heater on during the winter.
And you
Another
need to
no-no,
have
you
that.
need that air circulation,
Yeah.
but you need that heat inside the house to be able to keep that house, that
Warm.
insulation actually insulating something.
Yeah.
Because when it gets, you know, when it gets cold down here, it gets cold, and the wind gets down here and it gets picking up, and it makes things even colder,
Right.
or at least colder feeling. But it's one of those deals of you see most homes now have PEX lines instead of CPVC, so that helps with the expansion. But PEX can still bust. I mean,
Yeah.
it can. It can still leak at fittings and different things like that. So don't think just because you have PEX you don't have a problem.
Right.
You know, and then whenever it gets to the freeze, if you can get down here, it's going to be a big thing to do. Is to shut the water off at the meter. And we actually did a video and put it on our social media last year, and we're going to do another one this year whenever it gets to be that time, showing the way that we recommend. We worked with, not to plug somebody, but Gary Kent, long-time plumber down here.
Right.
He and I went through houses during the freeze, I guess 3 or 4 years ago, and he and I went through and kind of got a game plan together on how we thought it should be done. Went through, and you know, that first year I think we had 10 or 12 houses that we did that were under construction, and we didn't have a single line busting anything.
Yeah.
And I think it was frozen for like 3 days down here.
Yeah, we
had snow on the ground, for Christ's sakes. But it was one of those things of like we had a game plan, and we
Right.
had a really good idea of how we wanted to do this. And that's something we'll put back out, and we'll probably maybe even tag it into, maybe we'll do a show on it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's one of those things of you know, shutting it off at the meter, shutting it off at the house, you know, leaving that line open once you bleed everything out, cracking a union at the meter, helps drain everything out, gravity fed.
My dad
really-
used to get a air compressor and go to the furthest faucet in our house,
idea.
and it'd hook it up and blow water out the front one, because he said that way I've got as much water as I can get out of it, and I'm not worried about
Well,
it.
and copper lines, that was a big deal. You know, PEX is a little bit different,
Yeah.
but it's also one of those deals of we're elevated now, so that's why I said I got with Gary, and we kind of got a game plan on, you know, he came up with the idea of cracking the union at the meter, and you got to think like
Everything drains
gravity,
downhill.
right? I mean, gravity
Yeah.
works. It wins every single time. So the water will drain back to the meter,
Right.
and just kind of keep everything that way, and leaving it open so that it has air in the lines. Air in the lines is your friend whenever
Right.
it freezes, because air doesn't freeze. So it's just a couple things, and I think we should probably do a show on it and kind of show people
Okay.
a couple of different ideas. Nothing's fail-proof, but we're trying to make sure
that's one
that
of the major things down here is, you know, make sure your outdoor furniture is tied up or battened down. Make sure your house, we used to always turn the water off when we left to the ice maker.
Yeah.
We cleaned out the refrigerator in case the power went out. You know, just simple things like that. Make it to where you don't have to worry. You can come right back, you turn your water on, you check everything, you know, you restock the refrigerator, and you're ready for another year.
Well, and it's similar to, you know, kind of hurricane preparedness.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not going to be here, you're not going to be coming down when
Right.
it freezes, because if it's freezing here, it's freezing in other places as well. So having a game plan, have a plan in place, it's a great
Right.
idea. It's also, you know, get to know your neighbors.
Yeah.
I mean,
Every
get-
once in a while a phone call can help you.
Man, it's one of those deals of, you know, it's just like during hurricane season, like get to know your neighbors, because You know, there's a lot of good people, especially whenever the water busts and people go and shut the water off and stuff like that. But nobody knows who you are. They're not going to call you.
Right.
They're not gonna help you out. They don't know who to call and
Right.
help out. But there's a lot of good people down here who are willing to help if you just give them the opportunity.
Yeah.
So making sure that you know those people and having a game plan as we get to this time. Don't be reactionary. We're going to go back to that preventive thing.
Right.
Don't be reactionary, and let's be preventive.
So, well, if you have any questions on what you need to do, or if you have a question for Landon, make sure you reach out to them on their website. They've got a contact form there, and your website is?
PrestigeCustomBuilders.net.
Fill out the form. Allison's the first form of contact, and then she'll direct you to either she can answer the question or Landon can, but that's the best way. That way you've got a record of everything. So we're going to head on out. We may head to the beach next week. You never know. Until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live with Landon with Prestige Custom Builders. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye. Video equipment is sponsored by Crystal Beach Decor and More, located at 1959 Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas, and Beachy Beatnik Boutique and Jewelry, located at 970 Surfside and Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas. Thank you to these two businesses for being our 2025 video equipment sponsor for Bolivar Live.